We've got a few more people, so welcome, guys. We'll just get started. So, in today's session, we will focus on IIM Ahmedabad's PGPX program. The focus will be on the admissions process this year, the tips and techniques and strategies that you can leverage for your application and interviews. And in general, you can know more about the program and life at IMA from the panelists here, who have both cracked the IIM Ahmedabad PGPX application process, and Vishal, who's an IIM Ahmedabad PGPX alumnus as well. So without further ado, I will ask the panelists to introduce themselves before we get started. So Abhishek, would you want to go first?
Sure. Thanks, Manan. Hi, everyone. My name is Abhishek Chawla. I am the co-founder of S4G. And as Manan mentioned, I also secured an admit to IIM Ahmedabad's PGPX program as well as ISB. So yeah, it was a tough one to decide. Both of them are prestigious institutes, and it was a very tricky and tough decision for me. But I went with one school, which was ISB, and not with the other. So we can touch upon that later on, but yeah, previously I worked with Deutsche Bank and a startup called Caldeco as well. So yeah, that's a brief about me, and I look forward to interacting with all of you in the webinar.
Thank you, Abhishek. Vishal.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Vishal Mehta. I did my PGPX in 12-13, almost close to 7 years now. Nowadays, I work with the Hero MotoCorp. In fact, after PGPX, I am working with Hero MotoCorp. I work for their international business. They recently started. I mean, they started when I joined, them in 2013. Before PGPX, I had close to 8.5 years of work and various sectors, various companies, but in telecom sector. So for me, the transformation was huge. I worked for close to 8.5 years in Ericsson, in BSNL, as a freelancer consultant in Middle East and Africa, and then I did MBA, and then last 7 years with Hero MotoCorp. I think my journey has been very different. I mean, probably I find myself very lucky that I've done such 15, 16 years of work as in different industries, different geographies. So I'll be sharing more. And look forward to interacting with all of you. Thanks, Manan.
Thank you, Vishal. Thanks, Abhishek. We'll quickly go through the agenda that we have. So we'll talk about the admissions process and deadlines, application tips and strategies, and the impact of COVID on the program. During which I will switch off between Abhishek and Vishal talking about their experiences. And at the end, we will do a Q&A, so you can ask your questions on the chat as well as raise your hand, and we'll try and include you in the session, and you can then ask the question live. So, Abhishek, I would request you to cover the admissions process and deadlines for this year. What are the stages? What are the dates, etc.
Sure, Manan. So IIM Ahmedabad's PGPX program has a very different process. It's very different from other Indian or foreign B schools like IIM Bangalore or ISB for that matter. The main difference comes in these stages. The first stage usually for other B schools is writing the essays, also the application form and the letter of recommendation, and then comes the second stage when you are shortlisted for the interview, which is based on your application and also including weightage for your academics and your GMAT GRE scores. In the case of IIM Ahmedabad PGPX, it's different in a way that the first stage does not include essays. It only includes your application form. Now that becomes tricky because it's a very set and standard format. It's the application form, the online form, where you have to go and furnish details about your past experience, your academics, your extracurricular achievements, and so on. However, the way you can differentiate about yourself is through the descriptive areas. There are areas on job responsibilities of your current employment, your previous employment, your achievements in both of them. And another important area is that IIM Ahmedabad wants you to be very, very specific. And that's why the character count or the character limit is 1000 characters. So it's not words, it's 1000 characters. So that makes it very, very succinct and to the point. And we'll cover that in greater detail. Coming to the deadlines and the eligibility criteria. So I think what's happened over the last few years is that I'm Ahmedabad, along with other B schools, has understood that they would want to have a slightly younger cohort, and that's why what's changed over the years is the minimum age and the minimum experience criteria. So, for example, at my time, the minimum age requirement was 27 years, and the minimum requirement for experience was 6 years of experience, but now it's down to 25 years of age and 4 years of experience. So that's one thing, because they understand that there are other schools like ISB, that have a young leaders program or a early entry option, and some of the other schools also give you a deferred admit. So they are looking for that kind of a cohort, and obviously every B school wants top talent to join them. So that's one of the reasons there. In terms of deadlines, this year 31st August is the round one deadline, and they have three rounds in total. So second round would be 19th of October as a deadline, and the third round deadline would be 4th of January. So that's pretty much it about the eligibility and the process as well as the deadlines. Manan, over to you.
Thanks, Abhishek. With that, Vishal, do you want to cover your admissions journey? How did it go for you? How did you prepare, etc.?
Yeah, I think what Abhishek said, that it is very. I mean, as compared to other B schools, it's very short application. I mean, and you have to be very specific than that what you write here, right? Okay, few things. I mean, I'll tell you what my journey before MBA was. That I was in BSNL, then I was in Ericsson, and then I was a freelancer consultant. And there was a progression probably in my career, and that I showcased in my application form. I mean, I understand you need probably more characters, but that you have to show that your career is gradually progressing in that pre MBA work X. So that is one very important thing, I think. Uh, there are a few things I think at that point of time PGPX gave weightage more, like international work experience. So I had close to 4 years work ex, but I think they have realized that it is not it is important, yes, but it is not that much important. And gradually that work ex international work ex is gradually coming down. I think last year it is about 1 year, 1.5 years. At my time, it was about 3 years on an average. So that is very important point. But they do have a weightage for international work ex. It doesn't mean that you have to do some jazzy things internationally, but you need to show that you have handled teams across the globe. I mean, that is very important. If you have worked probably for a shorter duration, you have to showcase that you have worked across the geographies and work across the culture. So that has a weightage. uh, at my time, I think the cohort was very IT heavy. Okay, so the I think applicants as well as the admins were very IT heavy. But I think PGPX is doing that thing, that they are gradually moving towards diverse backgrounds, diverse work X. Even if that means that GMAT average GMAT is going down, and they are fine with it. And even the work X, I mean, so they have been trying very intentionally to make that very all round, or make it a very wholesome application process. So that is one. On my front, I think that one more thing that was very critical, that leadership experience. I mean, I understand we in India we have team lead, and it takes time for one to become a manager or a line manager, but you have to showcase that you have that kind of leadership potential. You have experience both, that you have handled teams, and there is a definitely a weightage. So I handled a team of close to 25 guys before MBA, so that really helped. A few things from my application, I think, and to make it really a good application process, was that there was one language I knew more, like I knew French. So if you have something that you can showcase, you have done different, so you must add it. So I was part of NCC in my college days. So if you have done something similar to it, you have to show. and there are various things, and there are awards, there are achievements. So and of course, extracurricular. You've done something for an NGO, even if you've helped some students, even informally, then please make sure that you show it. Like in my case, I have been helping people because I come out from a very small town called Udaipur in Rajasthan, and so people do come to me because of my past work ex and all, and that really helped. And I showed that in my application form, and so that was really critical. So these are few things from my experience. I'm sure everybody has different things to show up. So that's my take. I think, Manan.
Thank you so much, Vishal. Did you, out of curiosity, take a help of an admissions consultant, or did you do it on your own,
Uh,
asking with
so
alumni?
uh, at that time, probably I was in Algeria. Okay, so Algeria is north of Africa, Middle East kind of thing. So I was not sure about taking help of consultants, but at that point of time, it was very clear that I do need to speak to people, take guidance from them. So what I did, I contacted the ex PGPX guys and did talk to them, and it really helped. I mean, I'll not take names here, but they really helped me uh, in whole application process, and especially after the shortlist at the time of essays. Because in IMA, once you are shortlisted, then your essays has to be very good. So in essay process, I think that really helped me. In application process, probably not to that extent, but in essays, really they really helped me. So that was one. And post MBA, I think I've been doing the same. People do come to me. People do via LinkedIn. They keep in touch. They want to take help. Even within the PGPX community, like I keep talking to people every year. I think 7, 8 guys, 10 guys. Sometimes automobile background, sometimes telecom background. So people do talk, and it really helps. I mean, I totally agree with that.
Thanks. Thank you, Vishal. Over to you, Abhishek. This year, you've started already mentoring students on the process. So, any tips and strategies, both for the application and the essays? I know they will be announced later, but anything that people can do to prepare for that, and how they can get a head start would be really helpful.
Yeah, sure. I'll touch upon that, Manan. But just to add to what Vishal said, I think once you are shortlisted, it becomes very, very hectic because you get a few days. Like this year, the first round deadline is 31st of August. The shortlisted candidates will be communicated the result by 11th of September, and then by the 14th, you are supposed to submit the essay. So you got like 3 days to submit your essays, and then the shortlist is for both the essays and the interviews together. So anybody who's being shortlisted has to write the essays and also appear for the interview within a week or so. So you have to prepare your essays and you also have to prepare for the interview because that's the final hurdle. So that becomes very tricky. In other B schools, what happens is you write the essays first, then you get shortlisted for the interviews. Here it's a little different. So coming back to what you asked Manan about, the application and how I've been helping a few people this year. Uh, I think, as I said, it's got to be very, very succinct. It's got to be to the point. You cannot, weave a big roundabout story. And some people have this way of starting with a quotation by Winston Churchill or Mahatma Gandhi or whatever. All of that you cannot do here. You got to be specific. You got to be precise, and you got to talk about achievement. I think that's the number one thing. So, some of the people that I've consulted this year, or I am consulting as of now as well. Uh, when we started off, there was a lot of gyan in the application process. There was a lot of gyan in I did this, and this was the impact, this was the outcome, and then we had to bring it down to the core message. In terms of quantifying the impact, helping them understand what was the cost saving in terms of dollars, what was the revenue generated, what was the impact in the number of people, how many people were in the team. If somebody is showcasing say multicultural leadership or collaborative leadership, then how do you justify that it was truly multicultural? So like Vishal mentioned, right? So people like one of my clients has worked in Africa as well. He's worked in Africa for 8 years. So he was talking about his experience, and then we said, oh, multicultural leadership is something that's probably very, very unique because you've worked in Africa for 8 years and your team members were coming from very, very different backgrounds. They were Russians, they were Africans, people from Nigeria and other parts of Africa. There were Indians, and there were some people from Middle East as well. So he said, "Oh, isn't that the case with most people? I mean, is that truly unique to me?" But the answer is that you would not understand what it is unless you are speaking with somebody who's one been through the process and two knows the candidate pool as a whole, right? So that's something that we started with, and then we brought it down that okay, don't say I worked with people from different backgrounds. Give it numbers. I've worked with people from 10 nationalities. So that makes it specific, right? And especially in the case of PGPX, where you have a character limit, not a word limit, it makes it very, very essential to keep it precise, to the point, don't beat around the bush. And I think that's what will differentiate you. And that would be the difference between a good application and a great application. So good applications will not make it. They'll not make the cut. The great applications will make the cut. So how do you make your applications great and not settle for good is, I think, what is the secret sauce.
And I think to what Abhishek said, I think essays, out of the two essays, if I remember correctly, that one standard essay is probably what we want to get out of from PGPX, and everybody knows that any forum you go, and they will tell you standard format of that standard essay, that you have to show your past experience, then you tell what you get out of PGPX, and then you want to show what you want to achieve post PGPX. So everybody can tell you, but then you have to be very specific that what exactly you mean by your past experience. You have to quantify. Then you have to tell that I want to work in probably a small and medium scale industry in that particular industry segment, and this is kind of function I want to do. I mean, it is very easy to say that I was in technical and then I want to become management consultant post MBA. So it is very easy to say, but please try to avoid that yarn, and be more specific.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Vishal. I think a lot of people, what they would do is name certain clubs, name certain initiatives that they will get out of the PGPX. Essentially, you don't have to tell the PGPX AdCom on what they already know. You have to basically link it with what you can get out of it and what your experience will be. So I think that's very important across all the applications that you get into.
Yeah, and
So
and and just to add, Manan, it's not only what you can get out of it, but also what you will contribute to the school.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
see, it's a two-way street, right? You will gain a lot from an MBA, from your cohort, etc. But then, what are you contributing to the class? And especially in the case of Ahmedabad, where the cohort is very, very limited. It's just 140 people. I know Vishal at your time it was around 85, and gradually over the years they've increased it to around 100, then 120, and now 140. Uh, you got to still understand that there are thousands of applicants who are competing for those 140 seats at this great institute called IIM Ahmedabad. So how do you differentiate yourself, and how will you add to the class? How will you contribute to the class experience? What do you bring to the table that is unique about you? I think that's got to be communicated very, very clearly. You can always say, oh, an MBA will help me learn and have better prospects, and I learn from my peers, but what will you contribute to the class? I think unless you talk about that, it would not make that great application in my view.
true, true. One final thing, Abhishek. So you mentioned it is just 3 days where you'll have to write the essay. Anything people can do to get a head start?
So I think what happens in most B school essays is that there are two key questions that you have to answer. They might be worded differently, but the two themes that we have seen over the years, when we've consulted people across B schools, one theme is why you. As I said, why they should be considering your candidature. How are you better than other people in the pool? So why you is the first theme. The second theme is on why MBA and why this particular school. So why uh, Ahmedabad and why PGPX. I think those two themes are very, very important. And if you can just, have your talking points ready, have your thoughts prepared, just jot them down on paper, even if they are raw at that point, it will be very, very important, and it will be very helpful in those 3 to 5 days, that you get to write the application essays, because it requires a lot of soul searching, a lot of reflection and introspection of your past life, like Vishal mentioned, or whatever he had done, not only at work but even otherwise. That will all be inputs to your application. So don't believe कि यार shortlist आएगा तो करेंगे. That's not the right way, right? So start early, have some raw drafts ready for these two themes, and then okay, there would be a specific question in the essays that you have to answer specifically. You can always tailor it to that question, but the essence will remain the same. So that's my 2 cents. Have those two raw drafts ready for why you and why Ahmedabad and PGPX. I think if you are ready with that by the time the shortlists are announced, you would always have a head start over other applicants.
Correct.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thank you, Vishal. Vishal, you've been, we're just switching gears to this year now. Vishal, you've been interacting with a lot of current students now. So, what are the changes as a result of the unprecedented COVID crisis that we're in? A lot of B schools have gone online, and they are coping with that, accelerating in their own particular ways. How has Ahmedabad dealt with it, and what has been the students' experience so far this year?
As I mentioned earlier, I speak to people, normally 5, 7 guys, especially from telecom or automobile background. So this year, I think what they have done, they have not started the on-site classes. People have not reached Ahmedabad, and they are, I think, about to close their term one. Exams are going on. Uh, but what they have done, they have done online classes and limited the cohorts in a Cindy. So rest everything is normal. But yes, they have to make some changes, and they have done it. Like this year, they have probably cancelled the international immersion program. They are not sure 100%, but they are looking at it. Most likely, it will be cancelled. And even the management is very very helpful in everything. People are getting daily doses of their classes in time, and it has been very hectic. It is as hectic as you are on the campus, so there is no difference according to them. So right now I think they are waiting for probably about 15th August to get over, and then they will take a call again to ask guys to come over in Ahmedabad. So at the moment, this is the status. I think still the experience for the students, I've already spoken to 4, 5 guys, and it has been same. It has been very enriching, and the usual Cindy, fights and what I could say is still happening. So there is no change for them, but at the same time, they have adjusted according to the situation.
And
Uh,
just for the benefit of everybody who's not familiar with the IIM Ahmedabad lingo, Cindy means study group. It's a
Okay.
syndicate. It's a syndicate which at ISB Manan we call them study groups.
Okay.
And
Sorry for that.
no, that's okay, Vishal. And I know that. I mean, I haven't attended the program, but I know that because my interview was on campus in Ahmedabad.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I know there are dedicated syndicate rooms for each of these study groups or
Everything.
syndicates,
Yes.
and you'll probably be there 24/7 apart from your classes.
Yes. Yes.
So I mean, just for the benefit of the audience
Yeah.
and everybody who's not familiar with the lingo, a Cindy would mean a study group.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, dedicated rooms is a luxury actually. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for every Cindy, there was a dedicated, and no one else were allowed to use it.
yeah.
Whatever happens in Cindy room stays in the Cindy room.
Oh,
So
right. And to moving towards placements. So, Vishal, how was your placement experience? You mentioned that you switched industries.
uh,
There is this myth around, and I'm calling it a myth because I feel it's strongly a myth because it's only tech heavy now, and only the tech guys get majority of the placements. So, what are your thoughts on that?
So Manan, I think just before answering that question, I want to share, one anecdote that the year at IMA was probably the best year of my life. So it was a roller coaster, absolute fantastic year, absolute fantastic cohorts. I went on into the first day, and these study groups we were introduced and we were formed, and we had our first informal meeting, and we are just sitting six guys, and then people start talking, people started introducing themselves, and just listening to them, it was absolutely crazy. I mean, one guy, he said that he is ex-soldier, ex-major from the army, and he has worked 3 times in Siachen. The second lady, she said that she has been entrepreneur, and worked in IT, and then she left her job and started something of her own. Then the third guy, he's from strategy consulting, 10 years, and still he wants to do MBA. Then the fourth guy, he's PhD from US, and he came to IMA. I mean, and the fifth guy, he's in IT but in marketing. So it really mobbed me first day, and you get to know the people. And I'll tell you that when they heard that I am from Africa, and it was very surprising for them also. But then, over the time, then I realized that all of the cohorts, I mean, each of the 85 guys are very different from each other. And the kind of experience you get from, talking to these guys and interacting with these guys, very different perspectives. And that also, what I say, I mean, converts that complete placement process in a different manner. It is not, and I have an IMA bias. I'll tell you, both you guys, you're from ISB. So that every guy is different, and it's not very, ISB or PGP, standard PGP like that. You come to do an MBA and then you go to maybe, CG, or maybe, in a whole 8, 10 guys, 15 guys are going to a particular company. So it doesn't happen in PGPX. No. Because you are coming from 7, 8 years of WorkX, you already have 8 years of WorkX, and you want to leverage that using the MBA, right? So it happens that it is a natural progression. It doesn't happen that you have 2 years of WorkX, you just forget that, and then you do something else. So the placement at IMA is very different. It is conducted by the Student Placement Committee. It is definitely helped by the IMA management as well. But you have to make sure that, because each of you 85 or 140 guys now are coming from different backgrounds, so you have to make sure that your target companies are very clear in your mind, and you are talking to placement committee that these are the companies I want to be there in the campus with them, talking to them. So if they are already coming from PGP, it really helps. But if it is not coming from PGP, you have to make that effort. Apart from that, there is one thing also different for ISB and IMA. I think that ISB, or even standard PGP, as I am, they have standard entry points in the corporates. So corporates have, over time, have understood that how to get entry, and then there are accelerated leadership program, ALPs, ELPs, so these kind of guys. But in PGPX, it's a little bit different. Obviously, it also depends on where you have come from. But entry points for PGPX post MBA are different. They are senior. I mean, PGPX indicates that we are senior, or probably we are ready to become a senior management guy straight away from day one. So that is really different for probably IIM Ahmedabad. So I
Yeah,
hope I have answered your
just to,
questions. Anything?
yeah, just to add, one particular thing I remember from my application days is that,
Yeah.
I read somewhere that a company visits IIM Ahmedabad, and they pick up guys from the PGP program, the 2-year program, and they pick up their boss from the 1-year PGPX program. So yeah, that's probably what Vishal was trying to say. I just put it in one sentence, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
point taken, Vishal. I think yeah, that's a very valid point. Yeah, Manan, back to you.
Thanks.
I think there are one more questions on IT heavy cohort and placement. So I would like to answer. I mean, see, 5 7 years back there was IT heavy, and the sunrise industry was IT. Okay, so but of late in last 5 years you have seen e-commerce and digital and whatnot. Every industry is changing drastically. So and IMA has made that conscious effort to change their intake also. If you see the brochure of 10 years back, the average class 50% would be from IT, and average GMAT would be about 730, 720. But I think they made that conscious effort that if you are from different backgrounds, this year I think it is about only 25% from IT. Uh, so they have made their conscious effort, and now everybody has a fair chance. If it means that they have to reduce their average GMAT, they are fine doing it. But they do want to take people from different backgrounds so that the experience is really great for everyone, and that's how it is at home.
Yeah, I think I mean just to put some things into perspective, like Vishal mentioned, the average GMAT has declined over the years. So it was around 720, say 5 years ago, and last class, it was 690. So there is this myth, or there's this impression about Indian B schools, probably because of the CAT way, that if you do not get a 99 percentile in CAT, you will not be shortlisted. But in case of ISB, or even I'm Ahmedabad or Bangalore, Calcutta, I think the range of or the average GMAT score has been around, say, 680 to 710. That's the range of the median of the average scores, and the overall range has been pretty wide. I think that's true for all B schools. I think Ahmedabad last couple of years even went as low as 590. Probably that would have been some people like the soldier who has served the country in Siachen, or people like those. And even for other B schools, it's been between, say, 600 to 760. So it's a pretty wide range. And as Vishal mentioned, they look at other aspects of your personality and your experience, and the diversity you'll add to the class. So GMAT is not really the deal maker or the deal breaker in any way. In terms of placements also, Vishal, you mentioned that it's very different these days, and I agree, because even companies like Flipkart, Amazon, etc. are recruiting from, or even Ubers and Olas of the world are recruiting from PGPX as well, and they go to schools around the country. So yeah, it's very different from what it was 5 or 10 years ago when we were applying. And it's pretty different and change with the times, as things have changed.
Thank you. Okay, so I think now it's time to move over to Q&A. That's a good segue. So we have a few questions coming in already. First question is on the process, the procedure. I think, Abhishek, do you have to take GMAT at the time of submitting the application?
So this year, what's happened is, because of the pandemic, IIM Ahmedabad has very clearly mentioned that you can submit your GMAT scores by 11th of September, which is the shortlisting date, right? I would say, okay, to be safe, do it by the 10th of September. So while the deadline for round one is 31st August, you can still submit your GMAT score by 10th of September. Don't push it till the very end. To be safe, 10th September is what you should be looking at. And if you're not able to do that, they will automatically transfer your application to round two or round three. And remember that this transfer will only happen in round one. It will not happen in round two or round three. So make sure that you are pretty serious, and have your deadlines in mind, and accordingly you set your GMAT dates and all that. But yeah, don't leave it till the end. As I said, at least have some buffer. My suggestion would be, don't go into September. Try to wrap it up in August as well, because then if you are shortlisted, then there's a lot of other pressure that that'll come along. So make sure that you are pretty clear and sorted, and the GMAT is behind you. When you get into the applications.
Abhishek, one query. So, like in a lot of foreign B schools, they have dropped the GRE GMAT requirements. So, how is it with IMA? So, is there any way, like for this particular year, there could be any way, to get a GMAT GRE waiver. Is that possible?
There is no waiver, but what they've said is, as I said, they are okay to accept the online scores and all that, but they are not going to waive it off completely, and they've given you the time, like I just mentioned, you have to submit for round one by 31st of August. But if you are not able to get the slots, or there are any other issues, you can still submit your GMAT or GRE scores by 11th of September. And if you are still not able to do that, they'll give you that flexibility to transfer your application by round two or round three, to round two or round three. That was not the case earlier. So they are cognizant of the fact, and this move has come because of the pandemic, but it is not a complete waiver.
Thanks.
Okay. And in any case, you should try and take it before you submit, or write immediately a couple of days after that, because as we mentioned, the window to submit the essays is very less, and you want to get a head start and start thinking through that in advance. So make sure that you're submitting or taking the GMAT earlier. Also, it helps if there is, God forbid, a bad score, you're able to retake it at least in the offline format. Okay. The other question we've got, Abhishek, is great session. Thanks for the effort. Thank you. Hope you like it. Would you suggest taking an admission consultant's help? Any recommendation in terms of any admission consultant?
Okay. So I think, and I'll be very honest here. See, what happens is that 50% of the applicants go for a consultant. Broadly 50% go for a consultant, 50% do not go for a consultant. Okay, it's not that 100% of the applicants will take an application consultant. Vishal is an example, right? But what an application consultant brings to the table is to help you understand how to present your story. Like I was taking the example of a client that I'm currently working with. He did not have an idea of how unique his story was. He thought सबके साथ ही ऐसा होता है, मतलब मेरे में ऐसा स्पेशल क्या है. And that's what he told me after our brainstorming session, that Abhishek, I had no idea that my profile was so different. Now, obviously, he didn't have any idea because he has not worked with people over the years. He doesn't know what are the different kinds of people that you're working with, who represent the candidate pool. And I think that's the knowledge and that's the insight, a consultant brings to an applicant. And more than that, it's also about presenting your story in the right way. I think one of the key mistakes that people make in their B school application is that they treat their essays or the application form like a chronological account of their experience, or just an elaborated version of their resume. So what they say is that, oh, I did this, then I did that, then I switched my job, then I did this, then I did that. That is probably the worst way to present your experience, because you have to talk about who you are. You have to talk about your skills, your traits, your experiences, in a narrative that fits. And not only that, you also have to extend it to why at this stage, despite all that experience, and especially in case of PGPX, the experience is above 5-6 years usually. So why at that stage of your career you're still going for an MBA, and why you are going for PGPX, and what will you bring to the class? Why should we take you? As I said, why you and why Ahmedabad and PGPX? They are very, very important, and all of that, you have to connect the dots. All that story has to fit in, and that cannot happen if you are just presenting a chronological account of your experience. So I think those are two very important points that a consultant brings to the table. In terms of recommendations, see, I mean, there are various people out there. We are one of them. I would not say that you just go with us. You do your research. If you like us, we are happy to help. But yeah, there are others, and you can do your research before you shortlist one.
Yeah.
Just one more thing I want to add here. I mean, you have already covered the topic, but in India, because of the population, because of the kind of companies, they hire in hordes, and there are a huge number of people with same kind of profile. You look, I mean, it looks like from the external point of view. But then I strongly believe that and what is unique about you is unique about you. Nobody can copy you. You are the brand, and it is very important that you put it across in your stories, in your application. applications and in your essays. And I mean, nobody can copy what you have done, why you have done, and what you want to do in life. Nobody can copy that. So treat yourself as an individual, as a unique guy. What you have done is based on your situation, your background, various factors. So it is very important, as Abhishek mentioned, that to write it down in your essays and application form. It should come out really well. And so I mean, if you are able to do that yourself, fine. If you think that probably you need help, you can definitely go with consultants. So I think that's the point I was making.
Yeah, and just to add to what Vishal mentioned, I think he very rightly put it, like you are the brand, right? But see, think of it the other way. See, there is, so I don't think there is a lot of difference between a Coke and a Pepsi and a Thumbs Up and maybe an RC Cola for that matter. But why is Coke the brand? Because there is an Ogilvy or somebody behind them, or consulting them to build that brand, right? So probably that's the kind of skills that an experienced consultant will bring to the table. You are the brand, but how do you present it to the outside world? Why are you willing to pay a premium to a Nike or an Adidas versus maybe a Relaxo or somebody else, right? Because of the brand, and that brand is what you stand for, who you are, and it's presented in a certain light,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's what a consultant will bring to you, because nobody knows Coke better than Coke themselves, but they still go for an Ogilvy or somebody to help them with their new ad. And that's how Shah Rukh Khan or a Ranbir Kapoor gets pulled into their advertising campaign and so on. So I think that's the kind of experience, or that's the kind of skill that a consultant brings to you. You are the brand, but how to present it and position it that it fits to the audience, which in this case is the admissions committee. How do you present your case in such a fashion that you are shortlisted versus somebody else? I think that's what a consultant will bring to the table.
Yeah, that very good points, guys. Thank you. I know we've been receiving a lot of profile specific questions. I will just write the email ID. You can reach out to us for a one-on-one discussion around that. I will pick up certain themes from them. So in general, Vishal, if people have lesser work ex, the average work ex is around 8 years. If somebody has a lesser number of years of work ex, around 5 years or 6 years, and that too in fields such as analytics or sales, uh, what would the adcom consider in that case? What are the chances of admit, and obviously during placements, how good or bad would that profile be?
I think when I said average work ex is 8 years, it means that there are people far below 8 years also, right? And the minimum criteria now is about 4 years. At my time, it was 7 years work ex, and now it is 4 years. So definitely there is a conscious effort. If you see gradual progression from 7 years, and Abhishek's time it's 6 years and 4 years. So PGPX is interested in you. So that is the topmost thing. So PGPX is interested in you. Now, on the experience part, experience can be varied, right? In fact, I think you mentioned sales and analytics, right? I mean, sales is kind of function. You are customer facing. People die for such kind of roles that you have worked with, external consultant, clients, and sales. So it's a fantastic profile, but it is as good as an analytics profile, where you have done different unique things, right? And it doesn't help that you have done the same thing for 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, and you have done different things for 5 years. So it is how you present that what you have done in 5 years. Obviously, it helps that you add it up with your overall application inputs on everything, because workx is one thing, right? And then there is GMAT. Then there is a gradual progression of your career. Even in 5 years, it is important. You have to show it. Even at the same I mean designation, you are in an organization, but you have shown that you have gradually handled bigger projects, so something like that. So it has to show that with years you are progressing, you are growing in your career. That is very important in an application process. So that is my take on it.
Thanks, Vishal. Another question was around uh, the GRE score for PGPX. So, what is the average? And you can also Abhishek touch upon the impact about the ranges, etc.
Uh, sure. So the average, as I said, it's been coming down. The average GRE score has been 317, 317. The average GMAT score has been 690. This is for the last year's applications. Overall, as I said before as well, the range is pretty wide. IIM Ahmedabad has gone as low as 590 to accept somebody into the PGPX program. And obviously, like any other exam, the higher the score, the better. If you get a 760, nothing like it, right? That's the 99 percentile on the GMAT. Similarly, on GRE, it can go as low as 300 or early 300s, and it can go as high as say 336, 337, whatever, right? So, see, my advice to anybody who talks about GMAT, GRE is try to maximize your score. A better score would never hurt you, right? If you are the same guy, and you can be the same guy with a lower score and the same guy with a higher score. Obviously, other things being equal, if I have to pick one, I'll pick the same guy with a higher score. So go for a higher score. Don't think कि हाँ मेरा 317 average है तो say 317 ले आऊंगा तो मेरा हो जाएगा. There is no guarantee. There is no guarantee at 336 as well. But for your profile, which you cannot go back in time and change, you cannot change your 6 7 years of work ex, you cannot change the school that you went to or the college you went to, you cannot change a lot of other things about yourself at this point. What you can change is one, your GMAT score or your GRE score, and two, how you present yourself and present your story in the application. So these two are very, very important. So make sure that you put your best foot forward and just go for the kill in that way.
Thanks. Vishal, so there was a question around moving to consulting after an experience in oil and gas. I will broaden the question in terms of how or if possible to shift to consulting from the industry type of sectors. What has been your experience over the years during your class, etc.?
Uh, you have to be. I mean, I'll share my experience as well, pre MBA, post MBA, and probably go into management consulting as well. You have to be cognizant of the fact that what you have done in 8 years of your work ex, it has to be leveraged. I am talking about the average guy. Okay, I'm not talking about below average or above average. I'm talking about the average 8 years, 9 years. So you have to leverage it. In PGP, you have like 1 year, 2 year of experience, so probably you can just start again from scratch. But you have spent 8 years of your life, 7 years of your life doing something. You need to take advantage of that and probably grow into something else, right? It takes a lot of courage, lot of passion to start from scratch, and people do that. It is not that people don't do it, but then efforts, it has to be multifold. In case of me, I was in telecom, 8 years of WorkX, 9 years of WorkX in different geographies, very niche kind of technical profile. And what happened with me? I'll tell you what happened with me. That I was in technical. I used to help with the sales guys, kind of pre-sales in between role. Okay, and whenever I used to talk about sales, and they would say, okay, no, 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 you are not in sales. So I always wanted to be customer-facing guy, and that's where I switched my industry. I switched my profile, I switched my function, everything. I was in technical, I went into sales and marketing. So it is definitely possible to do everything, all three. You can enhance your function, enhance your profile in terms of geographies or scope of work. You can change your function. You are from technical, you can go into sales and marketing. You can change your industry. I was in telecom and then went into automotive, two-wheelers. So it can happen. There is definitely a very huge potential in that. But at the same time, the first point I was making, that you have to be cognizant of the fact that you have spent 8 years of your life. So if you can leverage that, please do it. On management consulting, I would say that with the consulting, especially the big four, they have their standard entry points, okay, and they give you a standard designations, and you have to grind through that complete journey of consultants, like a ISB guy or like a PGP guy. Okay, so if you are passionate and you want to do it, there is definitely a scope. McKinsey came at my time. They took one guy with 7 years of work ex, and he joined it. Couple of years later in 2015, there's a girl. She had about 6 years, 7 years of work ex. McKinsey came, and now I think she is still with McKinsey, and she is doing fantastic. So it is possible. I think McKinsey has come last year as well, or last to last year. And of course, they do not take like 5, 10, 15 guys. They have their choices. They have their, their set of people, set of profile they would like, and that's how they go. Uh, so this is how I perceive it.
I'd just like to add to what Vishal mentioned about switching to consulting. Um, so, like he mentioned, McKinsey, BCGs of the world do visit the campus and they hire from PGPX, and they do not or would not hire in great numbers. Like they'll pick one or two people at max. Whereas, say at an ISB, McKinsey or BCG would take, say, in the high teens or early 20s as well. But I think what's important is to understand that one, obviously the cohort is a lot smaller, so therefore accordingly the recruitment would also be smaller. And secondly, in terms of transition, there are obviously cases that you are able to make it to consulting, and I'll give you an example. So one of my batchmates at ISB, he had 8 years of work ex, and he joined AT Kearney, now called Kearney, post ISB, and he was able to negotiate a higher salary and a higher designation than what they were offering at ISB. Because the average ISB guy is like 4 to 5 years of work ex. This guy had 8 years of work ex, and he was an exceptional guy. He had worked in across the globe. He had come from an IIT and so on and so forth. But he was able to get a higher pay package, and he was able to get a higher designation than what was being offered on campus. So these situations can also arise, and you can definitely switch to management consulting despite having 6 to 8 years of work ex.
Okay, thanks. Another question which has come in is around, again, relevant for people who have more than 15 years of experience. Uh, can I apply for this program at the age of 42 with over 18 years of experience? So, what would be your take, Vishal, on that?
Uh, uh, I think if you are passionate at 42 years, then you must go for it. You think that you want that acceleration in your career, please do it. Because in my class there are people with 42 years, 45 years of age, with 20 years of work ex. I'll mention probably two here, or maybe three. One, government agency, confidential. I cannot tell the department. 17 years, 18 years of work ex, 42 years of age, 43 years of age. Then he went back into government and did fantastic things. I mean, one to one, I can share that. He is doing fantastic things with the government. Second, ex-army helicopter pilot, 44 years of age. Now he's CEO of a group company in a group of hospitals. He is about now 52, CEO of a hospital group companies. So two. Third, I think a fighter pilot, retired, 43 years, started something of his own. So if you are passionate about it, you want to do something great with your career, please go. I mean, there is no hindrance. I mean, please do apply for it. And future is very bright. That's what I can say.
See, just to add to what Vishal mentioned, and those are really great examples, Vishal. See, if you are above 40 and you're still attending this session, that tells me that you are pretty serious about going for an MBA, and there is something inside you that is still asking you to go for it. So please don't hold yourself back. You are 40 today. If you don't go for it today, you will be 45 tomorrow, and then 50 thereafter. And if at 40 you are still having that fire in your belly, I think there is no reason why you should hold yourself back. So like Vishal mentioned, there are cases where people come with high work ex, 15, 20 years of work ex, but they still are able to pivot to different areas and excel in those areas. Like you mentioned, fighter pilots, or defense people, etc., or making it well in the healthcare sector. So that is achievable, and please do not hold yourself back. If you're attending the session, if you're asking this question, you are in your 40s, and there are cases, even in ISB, we have had people of 40, and they've done really well post ISB as well. So that happens with all B schools. And please don't hold yourself back. That's my only answer. Today you're 40, tomorrow you might be 45. Don't have regrets in your life and say, यार अभी अभी मैं 40 का हूँ या अभी 45 का हूँ, काश कर लिया होता. There is no better time to start than today. So please start today and just go for it.
And I think it makes it worthwhile to go through that 1 year as well, because you will be working with, studying with, and partnering with the set of people across different experience ranges and age groups. So your perspectives also change during that year, and you are also able to impart your life experience, and they can also gain from them. So that's the great thing about such B schools, where the experience ranges are so wide that it effectively are two different generations working together and chasing the similar outcomes in terms of either grades or projects, etc., which you don't usually get in the workplace.
I think I'll just add, sorry to interrupt, Man. So there are two more examples I would probably like to give here. One guy, 16, 17 years of work ex, IT, senior project manager in probably Infosys. And then one day he said, no, I don't want to do IT. And then he changed his profile, his function completely. Sometimes it feels from outside that the rigor of the program, how it will go if, I am 40 plus or something like that, because I have to compete obviously at a guy of 30 years of age. So rigor is what you take. I mean, a program expects you to do certain basic things, and that's it. Rest of it is upon you. If you want to take, higher rigor, there was one guy who was topper, was 43 years of age, and he was probably, I think, third or fourth rank in my class. And there are a few guys who took certain courses that they thought that these are the courses I want to take, and this is where I have to, learn more. So this is how within the program, this
Right. So we are at the top of the hour now, and if you have further questions, you can reach out to us directly on our website or on our email ID.
Manan, maybe
Any
you could like to take the last question from Sagar. So is there anything like you have to mention the salary in the application, and is there any impact of that?
Okay, I'll take that. So, see, generally all B schools would have a column where you have to mention your CTC and your previous CTC and so on. I think mostly that information is needed so that they can consider you for a scholarship. Because if you are a great applicant or a great profile but do not have the financial resources, they might ask you to go for they might consider you for a scholarship that they may have. So that's the reason. But if you believe that somebody is at 20 lakhs and you are at 10 lakhs CTC, and that is going to make the difference, no, the profile is going to make the difference. You might have done better things. You might be in the social sector and you might have impacted more people, thousands and millions of lives, during the pandemic, before in any other sector or any other area. And therefore, you at 10 lakh CTC might be a better or more suitable candidate than somebody who's at 20 lakhs, but he's a banker and all he has done is done financial modeling in his life. Okay. So think about it from a holistic perspective, and salary is one, it is not something you can change today. Secondly, you do not control other people's salary. So please don't think too much about it. It is an indicator for more of a scholarship kind of a purpose than anything else.
Yeah. The factors that you can influence at this stage is how you put it across. Whatever you've done, it's done and dusted. It's about how you project it, how you amplify it, how it is relevant for the class. That's what matters at this stage. On that note, any final comments from you, Vishal? Closing comments?
yes, I think there is one thing very important I want to share here, that when you are just out of your 12th class, you do certain things based on what your uncle or what your cousin says or what your parents says. But this MBA, I mean, this you decide on your own that you want to do it. You take that call, you take that risk, and this is purely 100% your decision. Nobody else is influencing it. I'm not sure because when I was in my 12th class, I didn't know that there are hundreds of streams and I want to do this. I was not sure. But now after 6 years, 7 years, you have grown in your personal life. You know what are your likes, dislikes, and if you are in this, I think in this call, I think I'm sure you know who you are, and that's where you are going for it. So this is one decision you are doing it, or you're making it 100% yourself. Nobody else is making it for you.
Thanks, Vishal. Very profound and logical. It actually hits home. Yeah. Okay, Abhishek.
I think it's very important to understand why you want to go for an MBA. I think Vishal kind of touched upon it that 12th standard post 12th standard decisions are taken by parents or somebody else, and MBA is taken by you. In fact, on a lighter note, it was the other way around in my case. After the 12th standard, I was very clear where I want to go, and my parents were giving me suggestions, but I took my call. And in case of my MBA, I actually was not going down the MBA route, and my parents were after my life that all your friends are going for an MBA. What are you doing? Why are you not going for your MBA? Blah blah. And they were the influence, and a few friends as well. They were the influence behind my decision. But I'm glad that I took this call and I went for my MBA. And it's like Vishal mentioned, it was a fantastic year. Probably one of the best years of my life. But coming back to the last the key takeaway that I want to leave you guys with is that be very, very clear on why you want to go for an MBA. And if you are clear, it will show in your application, in your interview performance, and it will help you decide what you want to do in that 1 year, whether it's at Ahmedabad or any other school, because you'll have a lot of opportunity across different things. You can join clubs, you can take, different electives, you can go for international exchange programs, you can do a lot of things. But why are you there? Why are you sacrificing 1 year of your life, not sacrificing but investing 1 year of your life, and also the time, the energy, the effort, the money, all of that adds up. Why are you doing that? I think that is very important, and it brings back to what I said before. Why MBA? Why that particular school? That's got to be clear, and it will show in your application and your interview. So be clear with that, and yeah, all the best.
One last thing, I think on the school, I think I want to share something more, uh, because IMA, probably top of its game. It has its brand value, totally a magnet. But what exactly happens at IMA? When you talk to people from a diverse background, I mean, the prof who is there on SEBI board is teaching you financial market. Or the prof who is there in the RBI monetary policy, he's teaching you macroeconomics and RBI balance sheet. I mean, in what school you can get that? So that's kind of brand IMA is. And PGPX, I think at after 5 years, 7 years of WorkX, is probably one of the best program around. And as I mentioned earlier, this was one of the best years of my life. In fact, not one of the, this was the best year of my life. And I really, find myself lucky that I did that. So that's it. I mean, IMA is the school to go for everyone, I think.
Thanks. And
Okay, go
yeah,
on,
and then
Madan, go on.
yeah, one final, I think, closing comment. You mentioned about being clear about why the school, why you want to go for an MBA. I think the process itself is so beautiful that you get to actually introspect and relook at your life right from school days, and it all flashes back, and that's the beauty of it. And when I do those sessions of profile evaluation or application strategy sessions, it the life flashes in front of you, and you are able to have a better perspective in terms of who you are as an individual, what you bring to the table, what are your skills, likes, dislikes, and what you actually want out of life. And otherwise, in general, with the family and job, etc., you're not able to step back and look at a panoramic view of your life. This process helps you with that. So regardless of the outcome, enjoy the process itself is what my final comment would be. uh, so with that, thank you everybody for joining. Hope you continue to stay safe, and congratulations that you have embarked upon this journey. It will be fun.
Thanks, Manan. Thanks, Vishal. Thanks,
Anand,
Abhishek.
thanks,
It was
Abhishek. Yeah.
lovely
Thanks
hosting you guys.
everyone.
Thanks, Tanmay.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.